like the Jonathan Taylor situation is so stupid. It's like, Jonathan, they're never going to trade you. No one's going to offer them anything worth their while to trade you. And then those teams, even willing to try to get you on a little bit of a discount, don't plan on extending you. So this whole hoopla is so stupid. Where ultimately, like, Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald was the last time, like, a guy like Nick Bosa, and I throw Chris Jones in there too, just were like, hey, we ain't showing up until we get a stupid amount of money. And at the time, it was 87 and 90 guaranteed, which that's aged pretty well. I mean, that was a long time ago now. What was that, like 2018? I mean, we're far removed from that. And those guys know, like, clearly quarterback's the number one position. No one argues it. It's why if there's ever a position in a draft, if the best player is a quarterback, he always goes 1, 2, or whatever. The position that always goes right after the quarterback, if there's the equivalent, is the defensive lineman. And then once you get that guy and he's sweet, the team, the front office, the coach, his teammates, and all the fans are like, this is fucking incredible. This guy is on our team. We got Khalil Mack at 5th. We got Aaron Donald. We got Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett. Trent Williams is cool, and don't get me wrong, I'm former offensive lineman, Davis High. There is. You said this perfectly forever.
That was Johnson.
No one does cartwheels for offensive linemen, and you don't really know you got that guy for a couple years anyway. You know pretty quickly, like, this guy looks badass. He's fucking sacking people. He's crushing people in the run game. I think these guys have some fucking leverage, and I give them anytime a holdout starts, you're just like, how long is this really going to go? It's like, they're going to budge. I think these guys know, like, what are you guys going to do? Nick goes, Kyle, say one thing for Chris Jones. If Andy really wanted to, like, hey, man, I've been to 4 Super Bowls. I've won a couple. Like, you're not make or breaking my legacy. I think Nick would go, hey, Kyle, everyone kind of rips you as the guy that gets really, really close and can't quite get over the hump. And now you got this Trey Lance thing that's going to follow you for a little bit. I know for a fact that you ain't winning the Super Bowl without me, or definitely not going to give yourself the best opportunity without me. You know that. I know that. So, yeah, you and Parag can run your numbers. You're probably right. But I feel like I ain't fucking budging. Don't call me if not. I'll be working out here with my pops and who knows who else. They're all probably jacked and tan. Yeah, call me when you're ready. Like, I by no means think it's a lock that he's playing week 1. Either of the guys. I mean, Chris Jones already tweeted week 8. It feels crazy to be like, Nick Bosa won't show up till week 8, but he's gotten this far.
What's their record if he misses 8 games?
If they were going to be Steelers, 7-1, 6-2 team, I think you would add a loss.
Yeah, I think you might add 2. Like, to me, it's like, are you 5-3? Now I know, like, you would say, well,
5-3 is better than they usually start.
Steelers, Rams, Giants, Cardinals. You could go 3-1 in that stretch without Bosa, right? You could. You'd have to win 3 in a row, maybe. But I think your roster gets a little more rattled, right? We were like, oh, is it going to be weird for them with Trey gone? No. Is it going to be weird with them if Bosa doesn't show? Yeah, it will be. Cowboys, at Browns, at Vikings, Bengals. You could easily go 2-2 in that stretch. So you could go 2 again. You could go 5-3 with Nick. So I don't think it's an automatic but which means you could go 4-4 without him.
Yeah, I mean, he's a sack a game guy. He's just one of the best players in the league. And to me, he just kind of helps set the tone for your team. So, yeah, it's now with McCaffrey, right? McCaffrey or Debo can be hurt, and it's not crippling. There is no, like, who's your starting ends? Cleveland Ferrell and fucking Drake Jackson, right? That's a little different for Steelers going in because it would be interesting, and it's going to be, I would say, if he plays in week 1, is he playing as much as he normally would have if they would have got this done 3 weeks ago? Probably not. You're not risking part of signing him to an enormous contract is playing this. It's not even really, it's obviously about this year, but it's about the next 4 or 5. So he's not playing 55 snaps. Is he only playing 20? Is there like how you can't play him 45 snaps. You can't just show up and do that. That's insane.
You're right.
What do you
So
give me
it's
25
already-
snaps?
It's
He'll
already
get a sack.
it's already a loss then.
A loss
Like
for what?
Well, the negotiation. Like you've already. I'm not saying the whole thing. The win is getting Nick Bosa. That's a win. Nick Bosa suits up for you. You won. He'll win with whatever he gets paid, and you'll win because you get Nick Bosa, and that's what it costs to have Nick Bosa. But if you pay him what you would have paid him 3 weeks ago, if you do that on September 3rd, and it affects how much he can play in your opener, then that is a loss, right? The whole thing's not a loss, but in that category, wasted time, wasted opportunity.
Well, here's what I know, and anyone that follows the 49ers knows this. They like winning negotiations, and they always have. I mean, even when they've paid guys a lot of money, they always do it early. That contract ages immediately incredibly well, and they have, like, Parag is great at these little outs at times. Like, damn, they already can get out of this thing for nothing? Like, they have these
Well,
curveballs.
Kaepernick was an all-timer. Unfair negotiation.
But they've done that with so many people.
No, I know.
And I just think they're not doing that. Like, this is the first time, even Trent Williams, for as crazy as that was, they only had one real suitor that I think he was thinking about going to, the Chiefs. And they gave him $60 million guaranteed. Like, if Trent Williams had been a free agent this year, would a team have given him like 2 years, $60 million guaranteed every penny, and just paid him like $30 million a year or something? Probably, right?
Why couldn't he have gotten something near Aaron Donald's contract?
Yeah, 3 years, $95 million or something. Wouldn't you do that if you were another team? And I'll guarantee every penny. So part of the negotiation is like, well, you're not a free agent. You can't play other teams. Nick's like, that's true, but I kind of am in the sense of like, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to get. And I think they're the next position. Running backs at the bottom, right? They're just the loudest, like they chirp, even though no one gives a fuck. Like Chris Ballard's like, yeah, Jonathan, you're going to go on pup. See you later, buddy. Like they're just loud. But the guards and centers have no juice. Linebackers don't have that much juice. Hell, tight ends don't have that much juice. This position does, right? Because the importance, the hierarchy of where they stand, and just it's one of the last positions in this regulated game that is still allowed to kick ass, take names physically. It's why that, when Khalil and Aaron signed their deals a long time ago, no one thought it was that weird. The only question you have, like with Joey, is, he's kind of getting banged up a lot. Feels like Joey misses time. But if I told you Joey during the life of his contract averages 15 to 16 games, well, whatever. It's a fantastic deal, right? He's a big time player. Part of Khalil started getting banged up a lot. It's about the only question with the top guys is health. Like their game they can play. Like that's the knock with Vaughn last year. They gave him $50 million. You're like, you're giving this much money to a 33-year-old? Now he's on PUP. It's not that the contract is that crazy. It's like, can you trust this guy staying healthy? And that's the only question you have with elite defensive linemen. There's no like, well, the game, does he, it's like, no, they dominate. The Rams traded for this guy and he gave him like a sack every game. They won the Super Bowl. I was like, God, he looks pretty good.
Yeah. Well, and part of it too is like Bosa is not clearly softened by the fact that they always call him the best player. Like we're calling you the best player. Part of it feels like maybe it wasn't just about being honest. It was about saying, get ready for our offer. It's going to reflect that we think you're one of the best players. But when we say that, we mean one of the highest paid players or the highest paid player, just not the highest paid player by $35 million, right? I think that's part of when they've been saying all this time, how openly they talk about how valuable he is. I think part of it is understand it's kind of getting him ready for, it was an attempt to get Nick and his agent ready for, we think you are the best player in the league and we're going to give you a contract that, God damn it, nobody else could get. And Nick's going, I know, but I really want a contract nobody else will get for a few more years, right? And it's not about, well, Brandon Ayuk's going to be expensive, Nick. And Nick's going to go, good for Brandon. I don't know how that affects me, right? Quarterback doesn't have to sit around going, Daniel Jones isn't like, oh, well, what can we do for Saquon, right? He's saying, I'm going to act like most quarterbacks act. Now, you could argue Mahomes did the Chiefs a solid, right? But for the most part, quarterbacks just get paid. They get it all. And there's no give backs because, well, that's what I'm going to do for this team. what Brady did for so long.
Yeah, I mean it's the healthiest part of the NFL is that 99% of your players you're very fluid with. To me, it's the unhealthiest part about, for the most part, baseball contracts and basketball contracts is you get stuck with them, right? You can get stuck with a contract in football, but it's because the quarterback fell off a cliff, right? Or, your star defensive lineman got hurt, but you felt very good about signing that deal. You never have to well, this is just, you got to pay him to pay him. Like, you got to give Jaylen Brown $300 million. He can't dribble. Like, that never happens in football. Like, wait, the guy fucking can't dribble. You're like, that's the max. That always is the dumbest argument in basketball. It's like, that's not smart, right? Like, that's what I'll give the Warriors credit. Like, they signed Wiggins to just, I don't know, a normal contract. Like, Draymond signs, like, normal contracts. Like, every other team is like, no wonder you guys suck. The Celtics don't, but now, I mean, with $300 million to Jaylen Brown, good luck. I'm shorting that franchise, big picture. It's like in football, you really just have to do that, like you said, to the quarterbacks and the occasional other players. Because even when you go God, Fred Warner might be like an 8-time All-Pro. It's like, yeah, he plays linebacker. We only have to average about $13.5 million a year, right? It's like, it's not like he's not, and that's the thing in basketball and baseball, there's just like universal numbers. In football, it's like, well, you play that position, right? We got the greatest center in the history of centers. Like, oh, yeah, Jason Kelsey's making $12 million, right? You're like, that's just, it's pretty incredible. Like, Hufanga, he could make 2 more All-Pros, assuming that little cyst thing on the back of his knee. That's a little bit of a red flag. It's like, he plays safety. He's $10 million a year.
Yeah. Fred Warner, best linebacker in the league, $27 million guaranteed. Like, wait, what did Kittle get again? And here's the thing. Those are 2 of the highest paid players on this team. CAA has to be enjoying this Bosa negotiation because they're like, these fucking 49ers take us to the woodshed. Oh, no, win-win. Win-win, but we don't feel as good about it as they feel about it, right? It's that type of win-win. It's win-win when you agree to split the check, but somebody had 4 drinks and somebody had 1. Like, yeah, win-win, we split the check, but you had 4 drinks and I had 1. And that's the way these Niners negotiations have gone.
Well, and this is what's great about being an NFL fan is 99.9% of these you're never that worried about because it's always going to get resolved. And this is not the NBA where he could just be like, fuck this, I demand a trade. The team would be like, yeah, it's not happening.
You're not buying the Reddit rumor, John?
You just know you're in control. No. No, I'm not. Unless, they get Myles Garrett back or something. Like, they would have to get something back. Like, they're not trading him for draft picks. But but they would actively choose to do that. Like, they're in control. And Nick is stuck here. But the only way you can ever get even close to what you want is do what he's doing at a position where they need you, which him. So to me, just I do think him not playing week 1 is on the table. And I wouldn't, if you would ask me 2 weeks ago, I'm like, no chance. Now it's like, yeah, he's gone this far. What's the point? Unless the Niners get some urgency in him over the next couple days. It's not like, because clearly this weekend, I think I saw some coach said that, the league rules, mandatory kind of bye week beside everyone that's, beside like the Chiefs and Lions. I think Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday are guaranteed days off for the players. And I would imagine a lot of coaching staffs get a couple days, go hang out with your family or whatever after the long training camp. I don't think John Lynch and fucking Kyle are just sitting with their feet up by the pool waiting until Monday, right? I mean, this is a situation. This is they're really their only situation. I know they got to figure out some kicker stuff, but I just mean about a guy on their roster that they need. They got to figure.
Kyle going to be out beating the bushes? I mean, I don't know how he figures out kicker stuff. I don't know what you expect him to do.
Well, I just mean you bring him to work out.
Maybe kicking competitions. Yeah, I heard there was one in Santa Rosa. I'm going to swing by and check out some local kickers. I mean,
no one gives a shit less.
Than him. I wonder if we got Parag and John Lynch in a room, how many times John has had to really get involved in a negotiation from the standpoint of, okay, Jed, John, Kyle, Parag, John says, guys, I understand this is what the value is, but I've got to override Parag's numbers here. We just have to get this done. Has that happened? I mean, there's no evidence really based on the deals they've done that they've had to be in that position because every deal they've done seems to have made sense, right? From a Niners, what makes sense to us standpoint. And I do
Guy,
wonder
they've been easy deals for the Niners.
they've been easy deals.
sign.
Yeah. I mean, the only Debo was complicated in the sense they had to manage him, and that's what Kyle and John do well. But are we is this new ground for them? Where John says
I would say his was a little
contract.
His was a little complicated, and like he's an incredible player. He carries to the playoffs. But these other guys are true receivers. Are we paying him their $60 million guaranteed? I think it was a lot of like Debo. We need a lot out of you.
Yeah.
And that's why I think clearly the disappointment last year. That was complicated in the sense of like, hey, Debo, can we trust your level of drive to stay in shape? And last year, clearly. And he's like, oh, it just wasn't in good shape. It's had a lot going on. And in fairness, this year he's battled right back and he looks
new man.
He looks ready to roll.
Yeah.
But a little like Nick, you feel less about Nick, obviously, from a shape standpoint. But when their head's right, when Debo's head right, he like Nick Bosa, he's an unstoppable force. And I think anytime you get unstoppable forces in football, and all the good teams have several of them, you just do what you got to do to figure it out and get them going. Like there's not like you're not hassling over $50,000 in a buying a home, right? Like ultimately it's an ego thing on both sides, and that's what I would imagine. The story's truly going to come out because I bet whenever Albert Breer or Peter King, when the deal actually is finished, whether that's in the next couple of days or whether that's in 3 weeks, where the numbers were originally started at, I think we're going to learn the pretty high numbers. And the 49ers, the way they fundamentally run their business is we don't just get emotional in this stuff like, say, Jerry Jones, and then a couple years in be like, Jerry regrets that one. They don't do a lot of regret that one, right? And that is, they run their business like fucking, I would imagine, Lakeup when he was coming up in the VC world. Like they are very, very black and white with their emotions. Like this is our price. This is what
That's
we're
why
doing.
I
This
say,
is our
John,
price, this is what we're doing.
Is this one where John Lynch gets involved, or where Jed gets in, or where somebody just says we have to put aside our normal?
Is this where Jed gets everyone in the room, like Peter said?
First of all, I want everyone to know I'm holding you accountable. Don't make me go hire Booch again.